I was trying to tell my sons, our connection, and they're like, "How do you know this guy?" I said, "Well, um, I think we have the same parent or something. We got a lot in common." That's what your wife said. Like, "Hey, you talked for an hour and a half. How well do you know this guy? You got a lot in common with this guy." And um, we have more in common probably than we're going to find out. But I do know this about us: we're men of faith, and we're just helping people, or have a passion to help people discover, right, who they are, hit their potential, and live with authenticity and wholeness. So, if nothing else, that is the beginning or the foundation of what we're doing. But I just thought, as we start this conversation, I'd like to review, but there are people who will be listening or who are listening now, and they don't know Johnny Shelton, and so I mean to have you on as a guest today and all that you've done and your role in life, that's it's a story, man. You got a story, and so reintroduce yourself to me as if we've never done that before. You just give me the Johnny Shelton saga.
Well, man, Johnny Shelton is a young man, and of course I want to say young man. Um,
Do you feel better
we
about that?
we're we're holding on to it, Tim. We're holding on to it. Um, I'm a young man that who's just who has a heart, man, for people um, to get it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at today. But has hasn't always been that way. Johnny
Hmm.
Shelton is a young man who was a mess, um, who come from a single parent home, just raised by his mom and his three sisters there, um, and
Hold on. Are you the youngest of the four or
no,
the oldest of the four?
I'm the third.
You're the third.
Uh, I'm the third.
So
Yes,
your
so I'm the
sisters taught you how to treat a lady. That's what I can know from that.
they taught me how to treat a lady. Yes, indeed. And it's crazy because even to this day, man, it was one of those things, man, where I seen how to treat a lady by
Hmm.
watching them in horrible relationships.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's just like I knew how to treat a lady based on how not to treat a lady.
Yeah.
And just growing up, just those type of things, and
Yeah.
a powerful thing, powerful once I seen it, and but yeah, man, we just raised and moving around a lot. Um, Again, I was a mess, man, and had it not been for sports, Tim, had it not been for coaches stepping in, um, and I want to say good coaches. I had good coaches, I had bad coaches, and again, it's one of those things, man, where you know what you're missing. You
Right.
know what you're missing in life,
Especially
and
once
then
you've
when
experienced just a little bit, right? Once you've
yeah,
once you've tasted it, you're like, I
yeah,
want more of that, and then you taste something else and go, I don't want that
a-
anymore.
absolutely, man. And it was around seventh grade, man. A coach stepped in, and he was that guy, man, who affirmed me when I didn't even know what affirmation was. You know, speaking life into me, encouraging me, even though I wasn't the guy that was the star of the team. And that's what made it even more propelling to me because, like, wait a minute, he's treating me the same as, I mean, here I am, barely got a uniform, but he's treating me as if I was the star player. Those things speak volumes into me. And that's why I do what I do today. as a sports chaplain, man.
That doesn't always happen. As even you said that, I'm thinking back of one of my high school football coaches who was also my FCA leader. And man, to this day, I can remember the lessons, and I might not be remember the words, but I can remember Harv de Good always making me feel like, you know, because I never like when I got to high school, I had moved again and moved again and moved again, and you know what that's like.
Absolutely.
As a young person moving again and getting resettled and relocated and having to figure out what your place is. Everybody had played like middle school football off the same playbook they were going to run in high school. And I'd never run a play in my life. I played pickup ball in the in the schoolyard, and that was the extent
Yeah.
of my. I was fast, but that was the extent of my ability. He was fast and didn't know what he was doing,
Yeah.
and he recognized that. And the one thing I learned from him that I didn't learn from other coaches is that he didn't just give attention to the guys who started.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know if I would ever start, but I knew I'd go through a wall for that guy,
Yes, sir.
and because I knew that he believed in me. Didn't mean he was going to give me the ball or put me on the line and give me that starting position. I was going to play special teams,
Hmm.
until I earned a place. And if I didn't earn a place, it didn't matter because I'd play football for Harvard Good.
Yes.
And so you just know that when you, like you said, when you taste that, man, you know how that feels like. But there's so many people that don't ever get that from a coach, from a teacher, from a parent. They go through their entire life wondering, like, who am I?
Yeah.
So that's a gift that you got.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just one of those things, man. And you don't realize it, and I didn't realize it until later uh, in life. Obviously, I had to be in a position to to see it, but it was just those people at various points in my life um, that happened, and then to fast forward from there, then another coach will come into my life. You mentioned FCA, so the FCA huddle leader when I got to high school was a football coach. Same kind of a situation, man. And so okay, there's another guy. And you put the characteristics together, man. It's like, man, they have some common traits in terms of how they pour into young people, and it was just right. You just know it's right. And so you just fast forward on, man. And so that was me, man. And that's me. Um, I'm just so blessed today to be able to pull from those experiences along with those good experience of affirmation. They far outweigh those bad situations, man. Poverty. Man, we didn't have much, um,
Yeah.
but we
I,
had what.
I would assume just from what you've shared with me, single mom, daughters, moving, kind of, you told me right, like from family to family, from a little stability, right? Family
Yes,
members.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
So those coaches had to really, were they really your only or predominantly your father figures, Johnny, growing up?
They were, but see, again, now the things that they were deposited into me at that time, which now when you look back over it as a young man, you still don't, it's right, but then you have, or me, trust issues. Like, wait a
Okay.
minute, just by the way that where I'm from is like, okay, you don't trust any, and mind you, these men were white men. I'm an African American. These are white men. So that was another barrier in my mind. Like, wait a
Sure.
minute, this came, it feels so right, but there's got to be based on what society or the people around me is saying, like that it's not that genuine.
Yeah, you have
It
to you doubt that because of
you only go so
conditioning.
far.
Right, right.
Yeah. I'm only gonna let you in so far, even though it
Fair enough.
feels so right. I'm not gonna go and just open my heart to you. So when you say father
Hmm.
figures, I did have an uncle
Okay.
until we moved away from him. I had an uncle who was awesome. He was really my father figure. That taught me manly things. He wasn't a believer at the beginning when I was younger, but he taught me solid morals and work ethic, and he taught me the I knew how to fix a car, and those type of things, because I was always with him while he was fixing a car. And
Great.
he taught me good things like that, that type of skill sets. And then we moved away in terms of distance, and that was the end of that. Even though we did talk on the phone, it wasn't that much. But those coaches, they were they were the only male figures that held me accountable outside of football. When that thing
Okay.
started going, when it started going outside of football, and they started stepping in and really speaking into my life outside of football, it raised an antenna. Like, man, wait a minute, these guys do care, like what happens to me, my welfare. They really care about that. So yeah, they were the only ones.
So you weren't the best player in seventh grade. Somehow, man, that changed because you didn't have a lot of means. How did you end up in college playing ball? I mean, you must have gotten better. And then did somebody like see your talent and give you some money, a full ride, a scholarship
So
of some kind, or how did you make that happen?
well, it was definitely a God thing, man. And like going into this FCA coach that we were talking about, Bill
Hmm.
Ray, he I played, I loved the game. I loved competing. I loved everything about the sport in terms of the team. Uh, I loved all of that, the competitiveness. So I worked really, really hard. Shout out to my uncle, that work ethic. I worked,
Yeah.
and he seen something to where they moved me. I played defensive end. For those who know football, I played defensive end because I was not that fast, but I was fast enough. But something
Hmm.
happened to where they wanted to move me from defensive end to safety. Go figure. Like, what? That doesn't, if you know football, those skill sets are not the same,
No,
right?
you need a little speed in that safety slot, man.
So they moved me back there to safety during, it was the summer going into my senior year. And so 1 year of and I did get faster and stronger and all of that, and I actually grew some. And but he said, let's move them. So they moved me back there, and as they say, the rest is history, because it was like I've been there my whole time. I felt comfortable. It was just a perfect move. And so in that one season of my senior year, um, I got recruited, and I went on and I got a scholarship, man, to go to college. So, which was a blessing in itself, because Lord knows we did not have any money to for me to pay for any school. Um, but yeah, man. So I went on and I played ball, football, and ran track my freshman year at Southeast Missouri State University. So right there in the Midwest, it was uh, it was just a total shift that changed the trajectory of my life in terms of being able to go to college. Um, the first in my family to be able to go to college uh, and do some things, and even then, it was a blur, because it was like this is not even real, at least in my mind, because of the opportunity, because I didn't see that prior, even a couple years prior to that.
It reminds me when you said you got moved. I got moved. I got moved from playing halfback, and I don't know what my coach was thinking, but he said to me one day, he said, "Listen, I want you to play nose guard." I said, "You want me to what?" He said, "I want you to play nose guard." I'm like, "I'm a buck 50, man." And you want me to play nose guard? He said, "Yeah, you're fast, so I just want you to shiver that center and get in the backfield. That's your job, is to get in that backfield, make a
Yeah,
mess in the backfield." And you know what I learned? I I got killed. I got, you line up against a 250-pound center. It doesn't matter how strong you think you are. That's a lot of weight to move. So
it's a
I'm
lot of
glad you found
mass.
success when you got moved. I just found myself at the bottom of the pile. That happens too, but that's a whole nother lesson. All right. That's a
Yeah,
whole another lesson. So on to college, and I mean, I haven't told anybody yet, but I mean, you're the chaplain of the Baltimore Ravens. Have been for 9 years, and but there's a lot of life in between college football and being the chaplain of the Ravens. I know you did chaplaincy in colleges and stuff, and you played in the NFL for a while.
yeah, man. I had as they say, a cup of coffee. Um, I did more. I spent more time trying to make it than I actually made it. So if you look at over the course of 4 seasons, it's crazy. Um, over the course of 4 seasons, just how the dynamics, man, in professional sports, and football, in terms of where we were, man, it's an unforgiving game, man. It is,
Oh yeah,
it is, uh,
yeah.
it is a game of, people ask me all the time, how was it? They will ask me, man, what was your experience like? And I have one word for you: stressful.
Yeah.
You know, uh, you know,
There's a whole nother
we
level. That's a whole nother level of pressure, right? It's just got to be a
it's
whole nother level of pressure that I, I can't. You mean I've got my own stress, right? And so, but you transfer that to the role of a professional athlete. It's a different pressure. I wouldn't say it's a harder pressure, but it's certainly a different pressure. Maybe it's a harder pressure. Whatever pressure you're under at the moment is hard pressure, regardless of
it's a
where you're at in life. But
yeah, it's
there is a performance there that you gotta. I can't imagine what that feels like.
well, man, it's really unexplainable. Again, that's why I have the one word. You come out of college, and all of a sudden you go from a college student where you had your classes, you had your social life, and you had your practice, your football, and then you go into this arena where versus college, everyone made the college team in terms of uh, the number is way more players that, and then you have scout teams and all of that, and then you come here and you're positioning yourself, and everyone is good. Every single player is good, way better than what you're used to seeing. Even the big guys are faster than and all of these things coming on. But it comes down to where football is the only thing you have. No, there's no classes. So you got to. This is your life. This is work. It's a job now. It's not just this thing that you love to do. And so all of those dynamics, and then it comes down to the fact that we are men and we're performance driven. And
Right.
now those things kick in. And then now you have these other men who's coaching you, and it's just a whole different dynamic, man. And the competition is so competitive. and
Well,
and
and
again,
those coaches have their own pressure, right? I
they
mean,
oh,
they're
this
not your seventh grade coach anymore.
no,
I,
sir.
I, I, I'm not assuming they don't care about the person, right? I mean, these are not monsters. But they have a job to do. They've got to field a team. that can make it all the way. Like we're having this conversation the week of, NFL week. It's Super Bowl this upcoming Sunday. And that's the goal. That's the dream. And so, I'm sorry if your feelings
Yeah.
are hurt, Johnny Shelton, but you know what? You aren't playing.
Listen, listen. This is what have you done for me lately league,
Yeah.
and you win or you're unemployed.
Yeah.
Those are the options.
Yeah.
And so as a coach, I have a timetable where you need to be at this point, and that's why you'll hear the phrase all the time, be a pro, meaning your preparation. This is, if you're not a self-motivated person, you don't belong here. And of course, there's different, everybody's different spectrums. You got players. That's what makes the great players great. But this is in any industry. But
In industry.
the
Right.
in any industry. But the ones who know how to do it, the ones who can balance that time out and know how to study the playbooks and get those extra edges to be able to perform at their best, those are the ones that are going to last. And that's why you have your different level of greatness. um and so the pressure, and that's what makes it so hard. It's just so competitive, man. And you're going to produce or you're out.
How easy is it? And going back to the idea that there's pressures in every walk of life, every industry, every role that you play. But you said, you got to be self-driven. You've got to be motivated. The pressure of that just alone, uh, to feel like, I'm making it. I'm pursuing my dream. I can do my dream. When you look around some days and you think, how easy is it, Johnny? And what do you see as well? But how easy is it just to bag it, to quit? How many guys you see make the team, the first during preseason, and then just they know they're not going to make it, and they walk off before they're cut.
That's very rare that
Okay.
that happens. That's very rare. You very rare see a guy uh, walk off today. Now, I've seen it now. It happens sometimes, but it's very rare because of the opportunities that are there, and the guys, they really do a good job of dialing in. That's the word. Just really dialing in and focusing on what they have to do. But you got to have a great support system, meaning your family, your if you're married, your spouse, your girlfriend. They have to understand. But at the same time, when you have a team like the Ravens, us, we the support system in place. That's why I'm here. That's one reason why I am here, because there's a support system. Um, we're here to provide that for those guys who's ready to quit.
Yeah.
They may tell themselves that they're ready to quit, but it's a really low number as
That's
far
good
as
to know. I
guys
didn't know
quitting.
that.
Now,
Yeah.
now when I was coming in, I know instances. There's a couple of guys where I know that hey, you look, they were there at dinner, uh, and what happened to him? And no, man, he left. You hear him said, no, he didn't get cut. He left. A couple instances, but it's low. It's low that guys just actually.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm asking questions out of ignorance because I think most people, it's like any industry, any profession. I don't know what you go through. I have my assumptions, right? We all make assumptions, which makes an ass out of you and me, as the little phrase goes.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
but then we make judgments on those assumptions. So I don't know the pressure of a Fortune 500 CEO. I don't also know the pressures of a bus driver,
Right.
picking up fifth graders for school every day on a snowy route. and everything that goes on with that. So I mean, even my questions about the NFL are based upon what I don't know. And guys come to your office. People come to your office. They seek out Johnny. Even I mean, they may not want Jesus or Bible or, but they just know that they need some support.
Mhm.
I don't know what brings them in your office, but you do. What gets a person to a point where maybe they haven't investigated the things that you and I believe in, but they come to a point where they just know the pressures of life and the pressures of playing and the pressure of career and everything that we all face makes them seek out a Johnny Shelton to go, hey, you got time to talk?
Yeah, it's a slew of things, and I tell people, I call it this NFL bubble. You come in here and it's so many opportunities. There's so many opportunities to be able to provide generations of wealth, to be able to set your family up. And so a lot of the guys, uh, they really gravitate that's a lot of their focus based on where they're from and what their upbringing is. And they come in here and then all of a sudden I've had guys come into my office. One guy came in and he said, and you could tell he was just perplexed, man. And he said, man, I didn't dream about this part.
Mm.
Like when you think about playing in the NFL, you think of the lights, you think of the game, you think about making it to the Super Bowl, you're thinking about being able to provide, have all this money. You may think about women, whatever it is that you're thinking about. But they'll come in and they'll say, man, I didn't dream about this part.
Mm.
And it's the stuff that comes with it. The people that's around them that changes.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
they don't change. The people changes around them because now there's expectations from so many other people, um, and that is like one of the biggest stressors for a player is what the family and close people around them put on them because they have expectations now.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
one thing to have stress because you have no money, right? And we all can relate to that. At some
mm-hmm.
point, we all go, I know the stress of not being able to pay the bills. It's another thing to have more money than you might know what to do with. And you also know that you've got a shelf life in the NFL. You know, you
They
got you got 10 years of that. You make it that long to retire, and that's it. And so, what are you going to do with that? And how do you balance all that without getting caught up in like the evils of that? Because that's a whole other pressure.
Yeah, see, the problem is the player know they have a shelf life, but the family don't.
Okay.
The family's not looking at a shelf life. People that's in their circle who they automatically think because they're in the NFL that they have all this money. Yeah, they have way more money than they had, but it's really in terms of shelf life, it's not a lot of money when you look at how long they're going to be playing and see in the back of their mind is it's like, man, I may not even make the team this year.
Mm.
But the other people is like, oh, they're not even thinking about that. So now there's expectations. So making the team, being on the team, even when you make the team, like you said, 90% of the guys are not guaranteed that they will be on the team
Hmm.
because you have to perform. And that's just it's something that's just in the back of your mind at all times that you carry
But doesn't
because
the public as well have an expectation? Like they also think, like, man, if you're in the NFL, you're rich, right?
yes,
Which
public
is
do
not,
too.
which is not the case. I've
If
got a
you
friend who will be on my podcast coming up, and he's an NBA coach, but he used to play in the NBA. He was on the championship team in 2000, 2001 with the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. And I was looking the other day and stumbled across a number that when he was part of the winning NBA championship team. His salary was 30 grand. He's the last guy on the bench. They just threw him a bone. You're thinking, what? I could mow lawns for 30 grand, right?
Yeah,
But now
man.
you live up to the public perception of I've got to act like I've got money,
Got to.
and
Yeah.
there's a persona, even though you know you can't sustain that
That's part of,
emotionally, physically, financially.
and that's a stressor. It's
Yeah.
a stressor. And the guys, they know, and you pretty much know the ones who come and they have to live up to those expectations, especially now with social media and all of those things that's going on. Because the first thing that the public says is that they're making all of this money. Why can't he do ABC?
Mm.
They're thinking that. But the problem is, another problem, Tim, is like you said, they have in their mind that they have to live up to that. I can't tell someone that yeah, I'm on the Baltimore Ravens. I'm in the NFL, but I'm only making the league minimum. They're not going to tell somebody that
No.
because they actually want them to think that their status is bigger than it is.
Well, I mean, so okay, so there's something that we all have in common, right? It's why the average American has thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It's why
Mm-hmm.
the average American has less than $1,000 in their savings account as of today, right?
Isn't that something?
Or mortgage that or they are absolutely house poor or car poor to keep up with the Joneses and put up this front that
Mm-hmm.
all is well, all is good. And in the meantime, which are artificial, that's what I call artificial.
Yes.
That's not authentic, but authentic admitting those issues, which is the first step to healing, because people would then go, I can relate, which is why I'm asking you my questions, because I'd love people to be able to relate. We don't relate with the person across the street, let alone the person under the lights on a Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
But we all have those pressures, which then make us wear a mask and put on a front or pretend. In the meantime, we're miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you hitting it on the head. And I know that because I was that guy. I remember, I literally can remember when I was younger, during that time when the coach stepped in. I literally can remember before I got off the bus, changing to where I think I have to be. That person that's going to fit in, and that's the way it is here. It's just the way here. And when you get caught up in this NFL bubble, it's a microcosm of what's going on in society, man, where we think we have to be a certain way to be with a certain group of people, and we wear that mask. I remember
Mm-hmm.
having I did a chapel sermon on masks are not required.
Mm.
That was the title of it. You know,
How apropos.
oh, masks are not required. I mean, we're talking about the COVID and all this stuff, man. But man, that was one of the most well received because literally speaking to the hearts of these guys, man, right where they are, and the mask that we put on, even in the locker room, man. It's just so like the world.
That's got to be refreshing to anybody because you gave permission to drop the pretense. And I think we need permission. We
Yes.
need sometimes permission from somebody else to say it's okay to be you. It's okay just to be. Because until I receive that permission from somebody, I probably won't even begin to contemplate giving that permission to myself. And that's why our words to people are so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I look at you and I've got these ideas about you, and or look at someone I encounter, and I have these preconceived notions about them, which just adds more. You
Hmm.
know, um, like I travel a ton. I travel less than I used to right now. But you're always on a stage, right? I've made my living on a stage behind a microphone, and because honestly, that's the safest place for me to be. Because
Mm.
on stage, I mean, I try to be authentic. I try to be real, but I'm performing. I'm producing. I'm speaking, and I get to be anything behind that microphone I want to be. And I've encountered this sitting in a green room or something with other speakers, and especially when you're young, you want to live up to the expectation. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've spoken after a lot of big bands and well-known artists have performed, and we go on stage and we do our job. But what's refreshing, and it usually happens, it doesn't always happen, is when you're backstage in that green room preparing. And I tell people this all the time. They're just normal people if you let
Yeah.
them be. If you let them
Yes.
be, just let them be normal and respect the job they do, but they can't carry that 24/7 in their life.
That's right. That's right. That's right, man. And it's and to be able to be in a position, Tim, to where I can tell the guys you mentioned about the 90% that are not superstars, but I'm talking about the ones who are superstars, the ones
Mm-hmm.
who, I mean, the light is shining on them everywhere they go. And to be able to look them in the eye, man, and tell them what they need to hear versus what they want to hear, that's refreshing. That is so refreshing to me, man. And what's even more refreshing than that is for them to receive it. It's just like they, man, thank you. I needed that. Because a lot of people are going to tell them yes just because of who they are. They're
Oh
used
yeah,
to
they're
that.
people are intimidated, right? They're just
They're used to
intimidated
that.
by their yeah, right.
They're not going to ever tell them no. Um, but to tell them what they need, man, that's refreshing, and it's a blessing to me, man, to be able to do it because I can just think back. Again, we go all the way back, man, to the refreshing things that these coaches poured into me, even when I didn't know I needed it, and they gave it to me. And again, I said it before that it's this is why I do what I do. Um, it's no, it's unequivocally like yes, this is where I'm supposed to be right now, and it's just a blessing to be able to do it.
So the pressures on the field are probably some days feel insurmountable. The pressures off the field and the expectations feel insurmountable. But we're the end of the NFL season right now. I mean, Sunday's the big game, and then there's this break. There's this off-season break, and that's got to come with a whole nother set of pressure. You began to share that with me a couple of weeks ago. Like, this is a difficult time of the year for these guys to all of a sudden re-enter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Re-enter life, re-enter the home, being a dad, being a parent, being a spouse or a partner. The You say that's even a harder time of their life or their year. Why so?
Because they've been dialed in so much. The focus has been so much on football. They compartmentalize, and as you know, men we compartmentalize anyway. But they're
Mm.
able to keep things on the outside because they're so focused on football. So now football's over. Now all of those other things come flooding in. It just come flooding in their heart, man. The things that's going on, like the reality of, like, I'm at home now. I got to be that all my attention has to go to, or should go to my kids. But how do I do that? They don't know. Some don't know how to do that effectively.
Well, and they
Um,
haven't. I mean, I, I'm assuming they haven't always been able to be present, right?
Right.
As a dad. Um, some of the families may not live in Baltimore where
Yes.
their spouse or their father's playing football, so you're not seeing them on a consistent basis. I flew home um, one of many times, and I always said my wife was a single married mom, right?
Hmm.
Because she was married, and but she was a single parent because I was on an airplane 120 days a year. And I come home and I don't know if the boys were in elementary, middle school, high school, probably all of the above. She said this, and so I walked in and I made a suggestion. She said, "Hey, don't fly back in here and mess up our routine. You don't live here.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
go along. We have a routine. Don't screw it up."
Yeah. Don't come in here and mess it up, man. Same
And
thing.
so now I just have to fit into what's going on when I'm used to being kind of in charge, playing a role, right?
Mhm.
Getting respect for what I do. And now I come home and I'm being told, you know what, just clean the toilet and be quiet.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just
And Tim,
go
and that's
along.
that's the same thing. That's exactly what happens with these guys. You know, but but then the problem comes in. So now this is where ego comes in to where it's like wait a minute. you know, I'm 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 the breadwinner here.
Hmm.
Start throwing some weight around. So now we got a problem because communication is way off. Uh, I don't feel appreciated. So now we can get back into some childhood wounds and things like that that has never healed from.
Mm.
So now we're into those type of issues as well. And so, but it's the same concept of what you just said you went through because of the lack of being there. uh, Guys just don't know how to fit in. Like, what do I do? How do I do it? And it presents a big problem because now all of these other thoughts are racing through their heads, and so now they're trying to scramble through and make sense of all of this stuff, man. And it's just a big problem.
You know, this week, the big news in the last couple of weeks was Chelsea Christ, who is Miss USA 2019, committed suicide.
Yes.
And I honestly, I try to stay up on cultural events, but I missed it. My sons actually said yesterday, like, Dad, you're the guy who talks about authenticity and mental health and aloneness. Are you going to weigh into this? And I said, well, I don't want to exploit anything, but here's what I know, and I think this ties into what we're talking about. Beneath the facade, and it's not meant to be a facade, right? No one wakes up today and says, "I just want to be fake." No one says that.
Right. Right.
But beneath the pads, beneath the helmet, beneath the uniform is a real person with real pain and real problems. They may have brought it into the league with them. Like you said, there might be childhood wounds they're carrying on. But when they go home, they still have it. And just because we may idolize somebody, um, and the appearance is life is good,
Hmm.
externally it might be, but internally for all of us, um, that's just a way to cover up some things that have to come out someday. And they either come out with the way we treat others, mistreat others, we abuse ourselves, we abuse our bodies, we pick up habits or hang ups or whatever it might be. And it just makes that hole deeper.
Hmm.
Because I was interested in our first conversation because you actually said, like, I'm asking, like, hey, so when does it slow down just a little bit for you? And you said, well, it doesn't, especially in the off season. It really doesn't slow down for me because people didn't stop being human just
Yeah.
because the season's over.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's interesting that you talk about the young lady, and you talk about just in general everyone, just like that young lady. I don't care if you're 7 or 70. There's one thing that we want, and that's to be significant.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is, we just want to we just want to matter. That's an
Right.
innate thing that God has given us, man, is to matter. And when it gets to the point to where we think we don't matter, now you're talking a different ball game.
Yeah.
But so many people feel that way.
I said it, matter of fact, just last week to my daughter in law. Um, we all get puffed up, right? We all get a little puffed up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, I'm not famous, never been famous, don't want to be famous, but I always said this and I still mean it. If my kids think I'm famous,
Come on, man.
I mean, if I can be famous to my sons and now my
Yeah.
daughter, you know, um, now, do I always feel that way? No, there's some days I look at somebody else's life and go, dang, I'm better than they are. I'm a better speaker. I'm a better writer. I'm just a better human being with better hair,
Woo.
right? So I got a I got a text 2 weeks ago, about the same week you and I connected. A lady dropped me a social media message and she said, "Hey, I'm in the middle of a deep dive, cleaning out my office, doing some redesigning of my art studio, and I came across your business card. It's one of the cards that I held on for the last 10, 12 years and thinking this one might
Mm,
be worth holding on to." And she said this. She said, "I was in a lecture that you were teaching. I don't remember what it was and what you were talking about." My first response was, well, I guess I didn't make much of an impression on you, right? That was my ego coming out. And my wife, who's the smartest woman I know, she said, "Okay, get off your high horse.
yeah.
What she's telling you is that you noticed her, you saw her. She
Yeah.
stayed after, and you didn't leave the room.
Yes.
And that's all she wanted was to be seen." Because that's where matter and significance really grow.
Absolutely.
You can make yourself feel significant, or somebody can make you significant, not because they applaud you, but because they pay attention, they listen, they
Yes.
set themselves aside, which is so hard to do in any part of culture. But then, like I said, there's added pressures to your world, in the NFL. But everyone experiences it, Johnny.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping that we are dancing around. We're not really dancing around it. We're getting right to it. That people can hear is that everybody has pressures. They might not look as big, but if they're yours, they're huge.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and at the end of the day, that for me that's the new word. Notice. Just because when I teach people how to live with authenticity, you know, authenticity is not a strategy. It's a state of being. But
Yes.
someone's got to allow you to be. They just have to allow you to be, which is it's a gift. And I think it's a gift that you probably bring to people you encounter in that office of yours.
Man, I try to be that. I mean, I try to be because I try to be when I look at it's all about relationships to me, man. Uh
Mm-hmm.
I got that from my mother. Bless her soul. She passed away 4.5 years ago. But my mom had that gift of she she did not meet a stranger, man, and she talked to get any and everybody she could. Uh, and I got that from her. But she always used to say, um, when you think of someone or if they come to your mind, she said it's no accident. And she says that if you see someone, she said, what's the harm in saying hello to someone? Just
Mm-hmm.
a simple hello,
Yeah.
because we don't know what that person is going through. especially if we don't know them. And so I try to be very intentional, man, about the relationships with people. I notice them when I'm talking to guys, and I'm taking my earphone, my earbud out of my ear if I have music on. I mean, it's just those little things, looking eye contact to where you're noticing them. Those little things, man, goes a long way. That's what I'm learning and finding out, because they are significant. And when you can do that, it breaks down barriers. And sometimes, it gets to the point to where guys are like, man, I trust you. I trust you. And so now that allows me to be able to speak into their lives, man. And
Well,
it's special.
it's such a, I never want to sound indicting of people because I'm people, but it's got to be deliberate. And sometimes I think we have gotten ourselves into a rut, and we're so quick to run into the grocery store or the gas station or wherever you encounter somebody. And I notice this, and not being judgmental of it, but I notice somebody who'll be in a line in front of me. I go to the same gas station once a day. Stop in for gas, stop in for coffee, stop in for a car wash, stop in for lunch, whatever. And the same two young ladies are always there. We have a friendship. They might not know my
Mm-hmm.
last name, but I know their first names and they know mine, and I see them every day. And I watch the way sometimes people just walk in and they just throw money on the counter or throw a credit card on the counter or whatever it might be and walk back out. And they are so good at always sharing a smile.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, was it received? And hopefully it wasn't received. If it wasn't received at the moment, maybe they may not remember it cognitively, like, hey, that young lady smiled at me in the store or at the bank, or. But I think it's those little things. And listening to somebody is no little thing. Saying hello is no little thing.
It's
And
not. It's not.
but perhaps we discount them as it's no big deal. It's a big deal, just like the word you remember when someone told you something or said something to you that was derogatory. You know, they think it was
Yeah.
no big deal. They know I didn't mean it. No, it's a big deal because I
Oh,
still
it's a
remember
huge
it
deal.
50 years later. I still
It's a
remember it,
huge deal. Huge
you
deal.
know. And sometimes I remember, I mean, if I had to make a list, I could probably list the criticisms and the critiques, and they're longer. That list is longer than the compliments.
Yes.
And so, what can I do when I encounter Johnny Shelton or somebody to make sure that I kind of tip the scales on that list?
Yeah. Absolutely. I love
Because
that. I love
you say
that.
we carry that baggage all the way through, and we just bury it deeper. We bury it
Mhm.
deeper. And so
Yeah.
those kindnesses really become a salve to our pain, and maybe they begin to pull out that pus, that poison that we've been
I love
carrying
it.
around. You know,
I love
um,
it.
but I can get lazy. I mean, I can get lazy. I'm not pretending that I'm holier than thou. I can get lazy, and I can go through my life and do the same thing.
Well, we all do. I mean, it's because you're human.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you human, bro. You are a human being, and I would actually, I wouldn't say I wouldn't call it getting lazy. I would call it, I wouldn't call it lazy. I would say that it's just I would say it's a norm. It's like it's normal. I
Mm-hmm.
look at it as a cycle, man. Like when you do that, there's something that's going to tell you, man, Tim, you was just lazy with that. Get back on to being who you are. And so I don't call it lazy. I call it a cycle, because
Yeah,
it's just that's just how it works. We're human.
yeah, that's a better word for it, man. I received that. It's but if we're not careful when we carry those things all around, it's like I've been doing a lot of study on neural pathways in your brain, and
Hmm.
which I usually have to read, like each chapter 4 or 5 times, and to get it into my brain, because it's
Yes,
like, wow, that's heavy. But it comes down to real simple. What you think is what you become. Right? What
absolutely.
you think is what you become, and we have a tendency to think what other people say about us, and we think back on those experiences that were not positive, and we dwell on those, and so we have to change the way we think. And what you do and what I do is just one small bit of maybe getting people to hear that they're amazing, they're beautiful, they're fearfully and wonderfully made, they're a child of God.
Yeah,
And I don't
yeah.
care what you see when you look in the mirror. I want you to know when I look at you what I see, and I can only communicate that. It might just be a smile. It might be a positive affirmation, but I might be the only opportunity someone's going to have today to hear something about themselves or feel something um, encouraging.
That reminds me. There was this one particular player. He came here. It's been about years ago. I would say 5 years now. This particular player came here as a tryout player, and what that is basically when the rookies are drafted in, they come in and they have a rookie mini camp, and it's only the rookies, and they don't have enough rookies to field, the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. So they will get other guys who can play in the league, but they're just at the low end of the spectrum, and
Mm-hmm.
they filling in spots. This young man came in, like I said, talented enough to play in the league. He just, for whatever reason, did getting drafted, and he come in personality, uh, vibrant, just a great young man. I immediately started calling him Diamond. Diamond, you're Diamond, and that was my name for him. And he said, "Why you call me Diamond?" I said, "Man, because you're a diamond in the rough, man. You're special." And I always call him Diamond. To this day, he's out of the league. Uh, he refers to himself when he texts me, Johnny. This is Diamond. He doesn't say his real name. It's Diamond. It has stuck with him. And this is what you're relating to. You're talking about, like, we can deposit things in people. It's a breath of fresh air to some people, to most people, to all people, actually, whether
That's
they
right.
want to admit it, whether they admit it or not, it's refreshing to them. But some people are harder to break. Your heart is harder than others. But
Yeah.
that just reminded me of that when you were talking about that.
Yeah. I have to work hard at it. Um, I write on it. I speak on it. But I've got my own internal battles that
Absolutely.
33% of people are afraid of failure. That's a true stat. Most of my true stats, 96% of statistics are made up at the time, something like that. So my
Yeah.
stats are made
Yeah.
up. But this is
Yeah.
the true, it's a true stat. 33% or so of people are feeling a failure. And I was speaking a message recently, and I said, I let everyone listening know, I said, what my greatest fear is? I'm afraid I'm not enough.
Mm.
I'm afraid I'm not enough. And I'm sure people, you know, look at who they think I am, what I um, communicate on the outside, but I battle with that almost every day. I have to remind myself, I may start calling myself Diamond Man, so you may have to give
Mm. There
that
you
nickname
go.
to another brother. I'm going to take it.
Just say,
So
just call yourself D2.
D2.
D2. Diamond 2. Diamond's already taken, man.
All right, I won't steal a man's
Uh,
identity.
yeah,
But
you'll be identity theft.
listen, I
Oh
told you the
man.
other day. I want to touch on. something for a moment because I think there's something we can live on. I don't want to turn left too far. But it is a big week in the NFL. And I'm going to gear up. I don't really have a dog in the hunt this week, you know, except I will be cheering for the Rams because, Matthew Stafford, they gave him to the Rams, and,
Uh-huh.
we had him for a
Yep.
really long time here in Detroit. Never built
And
a team around that man. So, hey, I always said he could be an amazing quarterback if he had a team. So, apparently he's got himself a team. Not that I'm counting the Bengals out either, but all my Pittsburgh Steeler friends, which I've got a lot of them, they're like, you can't cheer for the Bengals. You cheer for anyone you want, but you can't cheer for the Bengals if you call yourself a Pittsburgh fan. So I'm for the underdog and I'm for Stafford, but some of that can get overshadowed, just like our life. There can be a lot of positive things going on, but those negative things, or what we perceive as negative, which might not be, can overshadow those. And so the headline, as you know, because you told me, hey, there's more pressure on me. And so you sent me a text going, hey, I could use a little prayer due to the the controversy, if some called it controversy, others would just say it's nonsense. Others would say it's 100% right on the money, all around the Coach Brian Flores at the Dolphins. That raises, I think that brings out some of the pressures people feel. I don't know anything about that. I'd never put you on the spot, but how, how do how do you keep people from seeing something like that? Because people have their bias, right? We talked about bias early. Some people are going to see that and jump on that bandwagon, and others are going to see it. And I read it the other day. Someone's like, "This is Colin Kaepernick 2.0 is all this is," and I'm thinking, man, there's something in the middle here that you're all going to miss. Just like anything in life that gets polarizing, you're all going to miss something that may need addressed, corrected, or rectified, but you'll miss it. Just like you'll miss it in people if you look at them and you already jump to a conclusion which is going to prevent you from listening and prevent you from noticing. Is there a lesson there we can learn in this particular situation?
well, it absolutely is, man. It's a lesson in it, as you know, it's a lesson in everything. But what I focus on is that I get the comments, I get the as soon as that thing went down, uh, I'm getting texts, from coaches, players, not even on the team that I have relationships with, because it's just something that's harboring in their heart, uh, in general. Just in general. I talked earlier about the NFL bubble. Again, I'll say it again. This NFL bubble is just a microcosm of the world. I
Mm.
mean, there's nothing different. It's just that it's in the eyesight of the public. It's something that's been addressed and it's happening in the NFL. So now it's a platform that people are seeing that's going on. But everything that's happening in the world happens here in the NFL. And so now it's just something to talk about. So the lesson learned here, I think you hit it right on the head, man. The lesson learned is that we should not. Why do we? I think if nothing else comes out of this, it's just an opportunity for me to check myself
Yeah.
and be true to myself in terms of what I believe. Bless you. What I believe, and what do I really feel? That's the opportunity there. I think I don't. When things happen, we go back to 2020 when it start talking about racial things. Then with the George Floyd thing, and when all of those things happen, it gives us a chance, an opportunity to check ourselves. And I really feel strongly about that. And so what I do is I point back when the questions come up. I always point it back at the person, and so that they can understand where they're coming from.
And I think that's a struggle with most people's because we are so far on the outside looking in, right? It becomes very public because of the nature of the NFL beast.
Absolutely.
But I've not walked in those shoes. I mean, you have a different perspective than I would ever have. First of all, I don't even live in that world. But then of all, I mean, you're a former player, you're a chaplain, you're a person of color. That's gonna you got a point of view. You see it every day, so you see these guys every day. You know these coaches every day. But we all love to. Here's a example. We just all love to play armchair quarterback, right?
That exactly right.
When we don't know anything that's really going on, and so I don't have an opinion. My
And
opinion
also,
my
Tim,
opinion is this: that the people in the world will work it out. They'll work it out.
yeah,
You know.
you know, but we but think about it. It's 32 NFL teams.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that there's a misconception that if you're in the NFL, you're in the NFL, but what the public, the fans need to understand that all 32 teams are different.
Right.
It's a different structure, it's a different culture, it's just different. And you can't say because this is happening there that it's automatically happening in Baltimore or Washington or whatever because
Yeah, you can't
leadership.
people. You can't people with the same brush there.
Absolutely, man. You know, the organizations are different, it's ran different, leadership's different, and the culture dictates what how something is ran. You know, and that changes the perception for a lot of people.
Okay, so now we've I can't take us down this road today, but we just hit on a point there that everyone needs to listen to. Whether we do that with the lawsuit against the NFL by Brian Flores, and we paint the whole NFL like this is what the whole thing looks like, or we do that with a race of people, or a gender of people, or a nation of people, we do people and ourselves an injustice. Once again, it goes back to not noticing the individual,
Absolutely.
getting to know the individual, seeing
Judge,
beyond the surface.
judging, preconceived. I mean, and when you judge, you are opening up a Pandora's box. You're opening up something, man, where it's uncontrollable when you start passing judgment.
Yeah, it snowballs, right? Because then you just
Oh,
you
out of
just rally
control.
the people who share your opinion because it puffs you up. And then you've got this massive divide like we've got in most of the world today, especially, just from a geographic standpoint from our nation.
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
60% of the people live in the middle,
Yeah.
but they're shouted down by either side, whatever side you want to believe in. I hope that's not the case with this because sometimes when that happens, you never get to the truth.
Right.
You only get your
Right.
perception of the truth, which is seldom the truth. Ending on a positive note, I wrote down this word today: camaraderie. I got to think, and I was thinking about off season. I was thinking that, when people go into battle, you know, which sometimes that's what the NFL is. I mean, you watch it; it's a battle. These
Oh
guys go to
yeah.
battle together. You know, in some ways, it's like sending somebody off to war. They have a bond. They work with each other. They sweat with each other. They fly and travel, and rejoice with each other. I'm sure they cry with each other.
Hmm.
That's got to be a beautiful thing to watch.
Oh, it's beautiful. And if it's one thing that when you talk about this being a microcosm of the world, that's one thing that the world, the fans, the public, you know, it's so beautiful seeing these young men from all different backgrounds come together, man, for one thing, for a common goal. And they fight and they get closer, and you just see them bond and on and off the field. You see that the relationships that are being built. That's what a player misses when they leave the NFL. They don't, the money's good, you know, for the ones in the top tier, they're making great money, but all of them are making good money. But when they leave the game, when the game is over, what they miss most, and this is facts. What they miss most is that camaraderie.
Hmm.
That's what they miss. They miss the locker room, bonding with those brothers, man.
So you just said something I think quite powerful on this issue of camaraderie. They come together with a common cause and a common purpose and a common goal. I wonder if that's what we might be missing as a culture that keeps us divided,
Mm-hmm.
that keeps us from not seeing and noticing one another. What is our common goal? What should our common goal be? I'm going to give you the last word. What lesson about camaraderie and working together with same cause, same purpose, same goal in the world to help people be their authentic selves today? What should that be?
Well, it's easy for me. Commitment. When you think about the word commitment and what commitment actually mean, that means at any cost. If I'm committed to you,
Mm.
then that common goal that we're going after, that means you're going to be able to trust me. When you know I'm committed and I know that you're committed, that breeds a trust, man, that we're going to go forward no matter what the differences we have. No matter what differences we have and think and all of that, I trust you. And so camaraderie, that's what that means. Commitment, man. The question is, are you committed? And you hear guys, you see guys all the time. That's all I want to know if you're committed. Because I'm committed. What sacrifices are you going to make so that we can reach what we're trying to do?
And that's a good word, sacrifice. Because if I'm committed to you, I'm committed to my wife, to my neighborhood, to my kids, to my community, to my fellow humans, right? It's going to require me giving up something.
Amen.
It's going to require that we drop some selfishness. I mean, I'm all about taking care of myself first because when I do take care of myself first, I can be more committed to you. So I
Yes.
can't just constantly give and give and give to you and not give to me because then I'm no good to you.
Yes.
But if I can take care of myself with an expectation that I'm committed to Johnny Shelton, and I am, by the way, we've been friends for a whopping 2 weeks now, and so you reached out to me, and I was thrilled to, like I said at the beginning, our first conversation was 90 minutes long, and it just seemed like just a few moments, and so as we move forward, and who knows what we get the opportunity to work on together to help people become their whole self, Johnny. But I'll make that commitment to you. I'll take a bullet for you. I'll sacrifice for you, and I know you'll do the same thing. And you just even taking the time to hang out together today. It was a commitment out of your crazy schedule. So I couldn't thank you enough.
Well, look, man, it's been a pleasure. This is just part of the process, man, as we continue to see what God has for us as we continue to bond beyond these 2 weeks. But I'm
Absolutely.
looking forward to it, man, and I appreciate you just thinking about me and having me on. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks for just being authentic and being yourself and sharing your bit of your story and a little inside peek to the NFL that real people are real people, and we need to see them that way. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for everyone for listening to. Um, I hope you enjoyed another episode of Square Peg Round Hole with my friend Johnny Shelton.